Kingdom Come Deliverance is really unlike any game I've played before. I've played immersive RPGs and medieval themed games, but nothing that blended those two aspects together like this, because, well, there really is no other game quite like it. Hell, most RPGs nowadays aren't even really RPGs, and most medieval games all reek with the foul stench of modernity and just have a middle-aged coat of paint. What's really impressive about Kingdom Come Deliverance is it's a game with about half the budget of Witcher 3, and it had about double the ambition, and for the most part they pulled it off. Just the fact that it launched and so many players enjoyed it is a victory in and of itself, because this is a game that was attacked by games journalists because it wasn't diverse enough, and to the developers' credit, they stuck to their guns and kept the game historically accurate anyway. History isn't always politically correct, who knew? The game is set in 15th century Bohemia. Of course, there's no black people. Most of the negative reviews from games journalists at the time the game launched were purely political and had almost nothing to do with the actual merits of the game. I myself didn't play the game when it came out. I heard good things from trusted sources, but I just never got around to it. I knew the game was just full of bugs and just mired with technical issues, but the depth of the experience far outweighed those negatives from everything I had seen. With the release of the sequel coming soon and the concerning leaks that we've seen coming in the news about the game, I decided to play it for the first time. Patience is a virtue, and it seems like in this case, my patience is paid off. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Drinker here, and today we are reviewing Kingdom Come Deliverance before the sequel comes out. Really quickly though, guys, before the video begins, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all that good shit. It really does help the channel grow a ton. Consider becoming a channel member or joining my locals if you do wish to support me further. Again, every little bit of support helps. But let's go ahead and jump right into the video. The world of Kingdom Come Deliverance is truly beautiful and immersive. The graphics are still pretty good, but it's the art style and the attention to detail that truly sucks you in. You can't help but get fully entrenched in this world due to the game's deliberate slower pacing and dedication to the authenticity of the era. There is no instant gratification. It's a humble journey where a boy becomes a knight. The favorable references to Christianity and the abundance of the Christian iconography is truly a welcome change from the modern-day atheistic Christian hating that we so frequently see. Basically, every character you see greets you with "Christ praise you," and there isn't a hint of modern-day irony. The environments are just beautiful, and while the graphics aren't amazing, they're still very good, and the art style, it's just beautiful. I can't stress this enough, the art style is just tremendous. It's extremely atmospheric, from the visuals to the sound design. When walking through a forest in the game, you really truly feel like you're walking through a forest. The world feels alive. The lighting is nothing short of spectacular. You can actually just sit and watch a sunrise or a sunset and genuinely enjoy it. The world is handcrafted and surprisingly deep. You run into wildlife, get ambushed by bandits, or get into duels with knights just to see who truly is the better warrior. Every experience feels organic, from going to the town to get a drink or hunting in the wilderness. I will say the wilderness is really just a set piece to enjoy, but the real joy is experienced in the towns. The towns are extremely detailed and technically impressive, full of NPCs just living their lives. When the NPCs function correctly, they don't always, they actually lead pretty complex routines, just adding to that life of the town. I love the world of Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I just can't get over how alive everything feels. I feel like I could genuinely spend so much time just hanging out and enjoying the world of the game. The game's uncompromising dedication to immersion is brilliant, but it will be a turnoff for some players. It can make things go at an extremely slow pace at times, but it's deliberate and thoughtful. Everything exists to keep you sucked into the world, not necessarily to make your life easier as a player. Nothing comes easy in the game, but that's a part of the game's brilliance. The combat is interesting. It's clunky and difficult, But you have to keep in mind that Henry, who you're playing as, is not a well-trained knight. The combat is just brutal and is a frustrating experience at the beginning of the game. When the game starts, Henry has 0 experience with the sword, and it shows. As the game progresses, you gradually get better in combat, and Henry gets stronger. Early game, you have to basically try to avoid fighting because the least equipped bandit is a challenge. But towards the end of the game, you can attack with strength and swiftness and feel like you can take on anyone. Even groups of enemies become far less of a concern. The game heavily encourages you to do combat training with Captain Bernard very early on, and doing this will save you a lot of headaches later on, trust me. One funny thing that happened to me, in an effort to speed up my playthrough close to the end of the game, I had a time where I was using an immortality mod, and I didn't even realize it wasn't working after playing for about 3 hours. I was basically just running around, sword fighting, big dick swinging, with no fucks given. After about my 10th fight, I finally got hit and lost some health and realized the mod wasn't working. I realized then that I probably didn't need to use it, considering I didn't notice it wasn't working. It's a fairly basic but intuitive combat system. You can attack from the 5 different directions you see on the screen, as well as stab in the center. There's a 1-button block control. You don't have to match their attack direction. You can also learn to dodge, counter, and perform combos. There are times where your character does not respond timely to your inputs, and sometimes when you hit an enemy, it doesn't really feel impactful. The biggest issue I have with the combat system is the opponents grope you more than an Ubisoft executive. It's fucking annoying when they do it a lot, and they do. The lock-on mechanic can also be just horrible when there's multiple enemies circling you, and trying to disengage them can seem impossible. This makes the large-scale encounters much more difficult and annoying. It really sucks the fun out of those large group battles. I'm not even going to attempt the game on hardcore, because it sounds like just a miserable experience, and I only want my nipples twisted so much. Much of the game is just social interaction though. Even your appearance matters in dialogue, which is a nice touch. If you look dirty and disgusting, the NPCs will look at you and let you know that you stinky. You'll spend a lot of the game just talking to different characters to accept quests or to investigate. This system is also pretty simple and intuitive. You can be charismatic, threatening, or just use your royal favor. Basically, if the number in your chosen category is higher, you succeed. You ask the person questions slowly to reveal those values so you know what you have to beat. Again, it's very simple, but it works great. The leveling up system is just simply learning by doing. The more you do things, the better you become at doing that same thing. It's an extremely rewarding gameplay experience. I do want to say this as well, and this seems as good a spot as any. The horse controls suck dick, and I'm tired of getting stuck on a bush that's basically an invisible wall. Is this where I make an impenetrable bush joke? There's a ton of mod support for the game, which is great. Think Fallout, Skyrim, Cyberpunk levels of easy mod support. It was basically just plug and play and didn't take much brain power at all. The opening chapter of the game is just wild. The story goes from 0 to 100 real quick. 1 minute, you and your friends are throwing poop at someone's house as a prank, and the next, your entire village and family are being mercilessly slaughtered, all while you watch and barely escape with your life. Like, damn, what happened? Was I in a coma for a bit? That escalated quickly.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Despite not spending much time with Henry's parents, you still feel their loss deeply, because in that brief time, the game does what it can to make you feel something for them. The characters and personalities are constantly fantastic throughout the entire game. The game's world building is spectacular. Again, it does everything to keep you sucked in and immersed, like I said before. The main story is simple. Henry's looking to avenge his parents' death and retrieve his father's sword. But of course, everything unfolds in unexpected ways. The main problem the story has is it sort of loses intensity throughout the game. It has a very strong start, with the first few hours throwing a lot at you, but the middle is largely the same sort of things over and over again, with the occasional spike of intrigue. There's a lot of feeling like you're on the edge of doing or accomplishing something important, but not actually doing something important. You always feel like you're close to achieving something huge. It just takes a while for that something to actually happen. It seems to lose a little focus. The main story also kind of doesn't end, or it ends on a cliffhanger. It's frustrating to do all this stuff to have such an unsatisfying conclusion. The side quests are the true gold of the game though. There's many self-contained side stories in the game. A lot of these start with you pursuing a main quest in that area, and then you get wrapped up in that area's local events. There's a lot of actual choice in this game, which is something a lot of other RPGs don't really have anymore. Many games give you the illusion of choice with the same outcome, where they have two options, one clearly good and it's obviously the choice they want you to make, and one clearly bad that they don't want you to make. This game actually has subtle decisions and choices that matter and that do affect the world around you. There's a ton of medieval politics throughout the entire game, which I absolutely love. It's great to hear the different lords talk about how they're vying for power and why they don't like some such other character. These are the types of conversations that I would expect them to be having. There's several romance options throughout the game, and I completed Teresa's romance questline during my playthrough. There's nudity in the game, but it's not gratuitous or overabundant. It's clear the game is largely using it for story and narrative purposes instead of just having nudity for nudity's sake. Kingdom Come Deliverance is far from flawless from a technical standpoint even to this day. Many of the best games with large open worlds suffer from bugs, and this game is definitely no exception. It mostly ran fine, but I do want to discuss the issues that I experienced during my playthrough. There was a ton of poppin' the entire playthrough. It's a minor issue, but it does happen constantly. There were frame drops from time to time, especially in Rate. It doesn't happen a lot, but it did happen a few times. There was some slight audio desync here and there during cutscenes. When the person talks, their voice would be slightly behind or slightly ahead of their lips. Again, just slightly but noticeable. Multiple times, endless loading screens happened, or extremely long loading screens happened. The mission Ginger in a Pickle actually bugged out and left me with a never-ending loading screen, and I'm not the only person that experienced an issue with that mission. I was forced to complete the mission in a different way than what I was planning on, but I was still able to complete it, so it ended up not being that big of a deal. Again, the game is far from flawless, but the issues I experienced were pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. I can't say enough good things about Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's far from a perfect experience. It has some pacing issues, it has some bugs, but it truly is an amazing game at its core. I probably put 50 hours into this playthrough, and I could have put a lot more into it very easily. That's the thing with this game. It's really a game that you can sink your entire life into. Reading reviews for this game, that was a common theme, that people just loved it and couldn't stop playing it and put an unhealthy amount of hours into it. The replayability is also helped by the amount of impactful decisions that you can make. This game is extremely original, creative, and immersive. And it's truly just a unique experience, but it's not for everybody. A game like this is made for a specific, dedicated audience. Anyways guys, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all that good shit. Again, it just helps the channel grow a ton. Consider becoming a channel member or joining my locals as well. But as always guys, this has been your boy Drinker, and I'm out of here. Peace.